What up, guys? This is my story, or my story. This is my story, my testimonial. Um, I've been thinking about how to do this for a long time, and I keep coming up with nothing. And I've been absolutely dreading doing it. So that's why I'm doing it. Something told me, just do it. Let's get on there and do it. So this is my story. I always thought I was saved. You know, I grew up Catholic. We went to church till I was like 12. Got baptized when I was like whatever age you're supposed to, when I was young. So as far as my parents were concerned and everybody else, I was saved. I was good. Nothing else you have to do. Believe in Jesus, you're saved. And I did. I believed that Jesus was a man who came, and because of that, we reset our entire calendar, and lots of other things that prove that it was a pretty big deal and it was real. We can trust it. And then so I thought my whole life I thought I was saved. Never read a Bible until I got locked up when I was 19. When I was 17, I got in a little high-speed police chase. Separate video on that. And so that apparently that was a felony, and I was 17, but in Michigan they could charge you as an adult at 17, so they did. Real nice of them. Had no prior record at all, nothing, but so they sentenced me to probation for like 4 years in a tether, and then I don't even want to think about all that. It's all horrible. But yeah, I couldn't do that. I made it like a year. I had to go to the probation office like once a month downtown Ann Arbor, and after a year, I decided I'd rather go to jail. So that happened. Yeah. So I got sentenced to 6 months. Ended up doing 4, or like 110 days or something like that. So then I got out. But that's my point, is throwing that in. That's when I started reading the Bible. So I started reading a bunch of John Grisham books. I was working out almost every day. I was healthy, happy. It was like a camp. Like, we played chess every day. The officers would bring movies in, so we would watch movies at night. It was like, it wasn't so bad. I started reading the Bible in there, and then I got out. Immediately quit reading the Bible, quit reading books, went back to hanging out with friends and going to parties and drinking beer, whatever. So then, trying to think. All right, so this is like probably 2000, and I say it was around 1999. So then 2003, I had my first kid. I was engaged to this girl. Thought we were going to get married. And then I found out, I suspected that she was cheating on me with these dudes. And then I called her at work, kissing this guy. And then we had a big fight about that. And she admitted not only to getting with that guy, but also she named off like 3 others or something. So she was just trying to use all that to hurt me. So no, it wasn't just this one guy, it was 4 guys. That's how much she hated me. And I was like, okay, so yeah, this ain't gonna work out, unfortunately. And my daughter was 1 at the time. So things were good for a while. Got a good full-time job and worked and paid child support for 17 years. Friends would come over all the time to the house and hang out, so I was happy, but there was always something missing. I was always trying to fill this hole. I was buying stuff, trying to go out and do stuff, just make more money. Like, I wasn't happy. I was happy. I was content, but there was something missing. I thought it was like maybe a girlfriend or something. So I was always thinking maybe I should get on a dating site or this or that. But so eventually, I got a new job working for myself. So it was a super good promotion, making lots of money, lots of freedom. So when I left the job I was at to do that, I guess the people that I was friends with for a decade were jealous or whatever. They just stopped coming over. Like, not right away, but kind of cut back at first, and then all of a sudden stopped coming over altogether. And then that was right about the time when my daughter moved to Kentucky, because her mom's husband or whatever got a better job offer down there. So I was like, I don't want that. So I fought that in court for a second until I asked my daughter. I was like, well, what do you want? I'm trying to tell the court that I don't think this is right, and I don't think this is cool, and I don't think that you want this. And I was like, well, what do you want? She's like, I want to go, I want to be with my brother, my brother and sister, and, dogs and cats and all that. I was like, all right. So I let her go, and then this was probably 13 or 14 at the time. So still ended up paying child support for another 5 years, $800 a month when I was making not good money at all, like 30, 40 grand a year. So they're taking a good chunk of it. But what was I at? Alright, so yeah. So she was gone for about like 4 or 5 years. Things just went on like that for like 4 or 5 years. I just worked and lived. I lived with my mom till about 2019, and then my mom moved into senior housing. So then I lived alone until 2022. And then in 22 is when this happened. This is when I was born again. So I was the job I started in 2020 was great for like a year. And then it turned to shit. And I stayed for like a good year after it had turned to shit. And when I say turned to shit, I mean spiritually. That's what I mean. Like all the people that were like just the cozy feeling, just the nice, pleasant people, like all that just disappeared, and everything was like, just felt evil. And you could tell everything was just all about the money, all about the rules, and I don't know. But I was starting to hate my job, and I was reading my Bible every day. I started doing that again, I think in 2021 or 2022. And I started reading it every day, just looking for answers, because I found out that, the Bible is real. And I found out that from looking into the earth situation. I'll just put it that way. Looking into the earth situation, I wanted to know what the Bible had to say about it. And I knew that it said something about it on the first page. So I started there, but that didn't really answer my question. So I had to dive in more and ended up reading the whole thing basically in 2022. And then so I was super happy when I got home from work, because I would read my Bible, watch my my Bible peeps on YouTube, and all was good until I had to wake up the next morning and go to work. And even then everything was good until I pulled into the parking lot. So yeah, here, read this part. But yeah, during this time of my life I was full of joy. reading the Bible for hours and hours every day after work and all weekend long. This is also around the time when I started praying daily. But all my joy would come crashing down when I pulled into work every morning and saw my boss's car. I was experiencing anxiety and almost panic attacks. I thought these people had been handed over to a reprobate mind. And I watched the whole process play out over a 6 to 12 month period. Blah, blah, personal information I'm not going to read. But yeah, just one day I had this feeling, just kind of day that made me see, and the kind of day that told me this place is beyond help and heading to hell. I have to do something. But I wasn't going to do anything without first talking to God. So when I got home, eventually my knees hit the ground and I prayed and I cried a lot. And, you know, I was asking God, like, just tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. Just, you have to tell me what to do, and I'll just do whatever you say. It'd be that simple. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. So tell me. So then, you know, I stopped crying and I got cleaned up. And then shortly after, I don't know if I was sitting on a couch or what, my spirit is telling me that the answer to my question was in the Bible. And what I asked her in prayer, was, what do you want me to do? It has become beyond words bad and it's getting worse. And the Spirit told me to flip anywhere, read one verse, flip to another page, read one verse and repeat. So I think I was sitting on a couch, my Bible was sitting open on the table when I looked at it and I had that thought. And I was thinking, what? God's gonna answer my question. So it's kind of like kind of one of those things that made me smile, like a game. You know, I like games. I was like, okay, that sounds fun. I don't think it's gonna work, but we'll do that. We'll do that. That's what the Spirit's telling me to do. That's what I'll do. So I grabbed it. I don't know if I'd sat down at the table and did it. I know at the end of it, I was sitting down. So I think I started standing up over the Bible, standing over it, and just started flipping and reading. But I remember at the end, I was in tears, and I was sitting on my couch, and the thing was on my lap. And like the tears are just streaming from my face and like landing on my lap. Like my eyes were so watered up I could barely see through them. But I kept reading and I started doing weird stuff, like just flipping one page to try and like throw like a wrench in the thing, because I was like, this pattern is gonna break before, you know, this pattern is gonna break. So I kept doing stuff to try and break the pattern, and it didn't work. So I was blown away. And then when I realized how crazy the message was, like a week or two later, or whenever it was, I tried to go back and find all the verses, but I only ended up finding probably like a third of them, a half of them, maybe a third of them, and it took like 4 or 5 hours. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. What do you do with a Bible it's got 66 books in it, and you know that you read verses that go something like this and something like that? Like, how do you go back through there and find those? It was not easy. But and some of them I wasn't positive of, so I didn't write them down. But the ones I was sure of, I wrote down. So this is the message, or part of the message. So I asked God, what do I do? And He said, like as a woman with child that draweth near the time of her delivery, is in pain, and crieth out in her pangs, so have we been in thy sight, O Lord. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when I was refused, saith thy God. The righteous perisheth, and no man layeth it to heart. Unmerciful men are taken away, and unconsidering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. That's talking about the rapture. It's Isaiah 57:1. He shall enter into peace, they shall rest in their beds, each one walking in his uprightness. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Blessed is the man who thou chasten, O Lord, and teachest him out of thy law, that thou mayest give him rest from the days of adversity, until the pit be digged for the wicked. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest, and stand in thy lot at the end of the days. As a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep, and I will deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark day. And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that has a pleasant voice, and can play well on an instrument, for they hear thy words, but they do not them. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. And when what comes to pass, that's talking about the rapture. And then, for a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. And like, the message was twice as long as that, but that's what I found after like 4 or 5 hours of searching, that I was positive was one of the verses. And so I quit my job. So I put in 2 weeks, 3 weeks notice, whatever. My last day ended up being 12/22 of 2022. So a whole lot of twos. And there was an ice storm that day. Like half an inch of thick ice was on my truck. It was supposed to be the last day of work, where I went in and dropped off my truck and everything, got the last of my stuff from my desk. And, I said a pleasant goodbye to everybody, but it didn't turn out that way because of the ice storm. I ended up calling, like, the roads were undrivable. I wasn't going to risk, going into the ditch and destroying the truck just, to crawl into work for my last day. I wasn't going to risk it was a bad idea. It was a terrible idea. So I called off, and as soon as I called off, she starts freaking out about how they need the truck, and that she was going to send somebody to pick it up. So like during an ice storm, they sent 2 guys from the office, like 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away, to come get the truck. So then I started telling, obviously, everybody that I know that, about my experience with the Lord, about how he talks, and about how if you read the Bible, you can know him and you can know the truth, like about everything. Like the truth about everything is in the Bible. So once I fell in love with Jesus, then I knew what John 3:3 through 3:7 meant when it talks about being born again. And then there's a verse in Isaiah talking about, or Ezekiel, talking about how once you put God first, he takes out your stony heart of flesh that you're born with, your natural heart, and he puts within you a new heart of flesh. And he also puts within you his spirit. So that's when you're born again. You're given the Holy Spirit. He takes your old heart, he cleanses you of all your past sins, and he gives you a new heart. So you're a new person. All the so-called Christians don't understand this. The people that don't read their Bibles, that haven't had that experience where they fall in love, like we've all fallen in love with a guy or a girl. So we know what falling in love feels like. We want to do nothing else. Like when I fell in love with my first girlfriend, I didn't want to do anything. All my friends, go away. Like I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm in love. So that same thing happens once you start reading the Bible. It doesn't happen when you go to church. I mean, I guess it does. There's always exceptions. But I'm talking in general. Everybody I've ever met who's been born again, which is nobody. I don't know anybody personally that's been born again. I know people online, but all those people, we all have one thing in common. We all read our Bible, and we all recognize it as truth. And faith comes through hearing, and hearing comes through the Word of God. What does that mean? It comes through reading the Word of God, not just from a pastor telling you a couple verses here and there every week. Like, I read my Bible every day, and I just wish everybody else would. I just wish everybody else would.